Hey, what's going on, everybody? I started this a little bit early because I am testing some new software. So bear with me. Don't trip out. We're not gonna get going right away. I'm gonna give a couple people a chance to jump on and stuff like that. But I am just making sure that this new software that I'm using is going to be working and things like that. So just bear with me. Give me a minute. I hope your Wednesday is going well. I'm just checking some stuff over here just to see if it's actually working out. So um, no, but I hope your Wednesday is going well. Mine is going super so far. Got a little workout this morning. Got some good breakfast. Did some reflection this morning on like journaling and reading the Bible, things like that. But so far it's been good, and I gotta head out right after this to go to do something else. So I feel like it's working, guys. We'll see what happens. All right. So the topic today, right? Well, I know I'm a little bit early, but that's all right. Topic today: burned out or just misaligned. Why it matters more than you think. And chances are, if you are here, you may be feeling burned out, right? Possibly in your career, in your life in general, right? You may be experiencing some kind of burnout, right? And I'm here to kind of challenge you on this because I'm here to challenge you and ask you, potentially, is it something deeper? Okay. That deeper being misalignment. All right. So is it burnout necessarily, or is it misalignment? Why this is very important. I particularly work with millennials, because I am one, and a study from Affleck, they actually did a study with millennials, and they shared that 66% of millennials say that they've experienced moderate or high levels of burnout. But what's a little bit more, I guess, critical, right, is that another study from Saramount reported a higher number, saying that millennials experiencing up to 77% of millennials say that they have experienced some form of burnout in the sense of exhaustion or cynicism. Okay. So, why this is important and why I challenge this, okay? Because I want you to understand something, the difference between burnout and misalignment. Okay. And I feel like we use burnout just for kind of the default of like, I'm tired, I work a lot. Okay. Not everything is burnout. Okay. And that's why I'm raising this, right? To kind of give you some awareness, give you some tips on seeing if is it burnout or is it really misalignment. All right. So burnout is more something that, think about it like this. Burnout is pretty much overwork. Okay. You're overworked and you're not getting enough time to rest, to relax, right? To kind of reset yourself a little bit, right? um, where on the other hand, misalignment, you've outgrown what you're doing, right? So essentially, rest is not going to solve that. So let me give you an example of this in my case, and this just happened like 2 weeks ago. Okay, I burned myself out. Okay, I run my own business. I am a solopreneur, so essentially, I'm building my own company from scratch, right? And I have been for quite some time now, like about a year and a half or so, right? And being a solopreneur, you got to wear a lot of hats. Okay, you got to be the HR guy, you got to be the marketing person, you got to be the salesperson. Not to mention in the background of doing all the building and things like that. So, wearing a lot of hats, I was doing too much. Right, I burned myself out. And this was just about like 2 weeks ago. Okay, I burned myself out. I needed to take a step back. All right, needed to get some rest. I needed to reset myself. Right. Um, Now, there was a time when I was misaligned. Misalignment when I was still in corporate, and keep in mind, I was in corporate, I was, making good money, leadership position at a good company. And I was putting in the work, but I still felt dread. I felt so disconnected from what I was doing. And even with rest, and believe me, like there was times where I really got to the point where I was I guess you could say like just highly depressed, right? And this was right before I resigned. Was I was highly depressed and I was just like, I slept for an entire weekend. I slept for an entire weekend, and I literally mean an entire weekend. Saturday, all day, like Saturday, all day Sunday. I just slept because I was already dreading. By Friday, I was already dreading Monday, right? That was telling me it's not burnout, it's misalignment. Like you no longer want to do this anymore. Okay. And that's the difference between them, right? So let me ask you a question. I would love to get your participation on this. So if you are watching live, let me post a question for you. How many of you have gone on a vacation, right, to kind of rest, reset yourself, and from that vacation, you're already dreading Monday or coming back on Monday? Just drop a yes if you've ever experienced that in the comments. I would love to hear from you, just to see if you can relate to that. That was pretty much the experience I had with my corporate job, where I was just Friday came around, like I was literally living for the weekends, right? That's where I felt alive until I didn't feel alive anymore. And that's where I knew something was off. It wasn't just burnout, it wasn't overwork, it was something was off within me that I needed to change. Okay, so drop a comment if that resonates with you. If you've ever gone on a vacation and that's almost when that vacation's almost ending, or even when it started, if you already started dreading coming back to work, not because you just I just wanted to stay in Hawaii. Obviously, everybody would love to just stay in Hawaii and be on vacation all the time. But if you started dreading it for other reasons rather than just being in the vacation, like you already thinking about, I don't want to go back to work. I don't want to deal with these toxic people. I don't want to be doing this anymore. Like I don't even feel invigorated or motivated to do this anymore, right? If that's what you were thinking, you might be misaligned. Okay. So let's go into how to necessarily fix that, right? So if you're burned out, if you're going through burnout, and you can truly say, I love what I'm doing. I want to keep doing it. I'm just overworked right now. I just work too much. I'm putting too many hours in, because I can relate. Even when I burned myself out about 2 weeks ago, I still want to keep working, but I knew I had to rest. Okay. So how do you do that? How do you fix the burnout? You need to rest and you need to set some boundaries. Okay. That boundary, what has worked for me, what has worked for me is setting the boundary, and really just a mindset boundary. So I tell myself now, and it's been working for me so far. So I tell myself now, the level of quality that you are going to put out right now, if you go to work tired, is not going to be the level of quality that if you just go and rest for 2-3 hours, or maybe push it off till tomorrow, where you are rested and you can come real fresh and deliver high quality content, high quality products, a high quality experience. Then do that. And that is helping me. It doesn't work all the time, because some things, unfortunately, we just got to push through and get done. But for the most part, the most important things that I am doing in my work, it's helping me really shift my mindset to, I'd rather show up at 100% than be trying to do this at 30% of my battery, right? Because now that quality is going to be diminished. It's going to lack really how I want it to be. And what I find is when I push through that stuff, especially the things that were highly important to my business, I had to come back later when I was more fresh to do it again. Okay. So try that out. If you're going through burnout right now, first and foremost, right? If you can identify that you are burnt out because you are overworked, you need to find first, when are you going to rest? Okay. And get adequate rest, not just, I'm going to, work a little bit or light work or anything. No, like, I mean, like you unplug, take phone away, whatever. If you want to just watch a movie and relax, sleep, whatever it may be, but you need to actually rest, like turn your brain off. Okay. And then set that boundary. Just ask yourself, if the quality of work that you are doing, right, when you feel like you are working, or you want to work, or you want to put in more work, just kind of tell yourself, if am I going to deliver the level of quality that I truly feel I can deliver if I was well rested? If the answer is no, then rest and plan for it when you can come back at 100%. Okay. That'll be a quick fix on how to do, figure out the burnout, right? How to fix it. Okay. Misalignment is a little bit tougher. because the only way to fix misalignment is to realign yourself. Okay. This kind of calls back for realignment. You need to kind of explore your values again. You need to explore your identity. You need to explore what chapter or season of life that you are in, right? What is it? Is it a career thing that's pushing you off? Is it a life thing that's pushing you off right now? So you really need to kind of take a step back. And it's not necessarily with burnout, like you can just rest and set some boundaries. This is more inner work. You need to kind of start exploring the inner you or the new you, right? Because usually when you get to the point of alignment, that's because the person that you are now is either working in or working on things that was the old version of you that got you there. Okay, so you pretty much essentially grew throughout that time frame, and the person that you are now, you might not even enjoy it anymore. You might not align with your values as to what you're doing, right? You might have outgrown that already, but your career or your life hasn't caught up yet. So a way to kind of start exploring this, and I'll give you a quick strategy that you can use that I've used before. I have what's called a 5 vision story. Okay. The 5 year story is kind of, or the 5 year vision story is kind of like for the future, right? What I want to kind of project and what I kind of see myself doing. Okay. You can do that in reverse as well. So go 5 years back. So if we're in 2025, go back to 2020 and ask yourself, what were my top 3 values then? Okay. Then write down a simple, short, like 2 to 3 sentence explanation of why those were your top values in 2020. And then do the same thing for 2021, 22, 23, 24, 25. Okay. So essentially, you're going to have what your top 3 values were on the top and a quick 2 to 3 sentence paragraph on the bottom of why those are your top values during that season of your life. Okay. And then I want you to just kind of read over them. Read over them and see how were you changing? How were your values shifting? Why were they shifting? Like kind of answer that question. It'll start, it may not answer it, but it'll start kind of circulating some ideas as to how you have changed and why you are the way you are right now, or who that person that you're looking at right now is. Okay. And it'll give you a little bit more of an understanding of potentially where you need to go next. Okay. So that's a way that you can kind of fix misalignment, or just kind of start doing a little bit of the work to get you to understand why you are misaligned right now. All right. And I would love to know if you are realizing that you are either misaligned or you're dealing with some burnout, or you want some more, clarity or anything like that on it. You can take my career clarity quiz at professionalpurpose.com. It'll provide you, it's a quick 3-minute quiz. It'll provide you with a little bit of perspective, a little bit of tips and strategies as to what zone you are in, whether you're barely realizing that you're misaligned or burned out, whether you've realized it for a while, but you just don't know what to do next, or you're just ready for a total transformation. Like you're like, I'm just ready to completely change my life because this is not working for me, right? So it's going to identify one of those 3 for you, and it's going to give you specific tips and strategies on what to do next, depending on where you're standing at. Okay. And I just want to leave you with this. Burnout needs recovery. Misalignment needs reinvention. Okay. If you think that one of these applies to you, I would love to hear from you. Which do you think applies to you? Burnout or misalignment right now? Drop it in the chat. If you would love some accountability, drop it in the chat and I will follow up with you and see if you did one of the tips or strategies that I mentioned to you, or perhaps you might need a different approach to what you're going through. Okay. So drop it in the chat. What are you dealing with right now? Burnout or misalignment? And I'll see y'all on the next one. Hope you took something out of this, and y'all have a great Wednesday, great rest of the week.